Mic test. Hello? Okay ba? Okay ba ang ating mga pakulo? And I really hope that we're getting a low. Mic test. This is really important. Facial. So we're trying to observe. This is like a test live in the YouTube. I hope I'm clear, but please do comment. After a long while, no, after a long while, I just wanted to check. Okay, let's see. Now we're testing it now. Okay, I am in. Okay, it's simply because, hello everybody. So again, I just really wanted to thank for those subscribers and updates that we have been providing in YouTube. I have my Facebook page, which is Job Solas as well, and of course my website, which is Job Solas. But for the past few months and days, we've been launching our episodes. So we've been busy because of the business setup. Particularly, this is exactly why I'm coming up my particular vlog. Kasi we're going to talk about the water refilling station and also with the Cooltura Salon, which is already in Malolos. Pero just to tell you the story behind it, because all of the business that I have started just within the house in our residence. Then eventually, what we've been doing is to check the condition whether it's going to do well, particularly in the pandemic, because it's really hard. It's really hard. Um, and I am really looking forward. Sir, and I love to send you. I'm talking. Sorry, I'm answering Doctor. Yeah, I'm not going to divulge it as of this moment. So this is exactly what I'm doing. So I get a lot of interruptions, but nevertheless, I just really am grateful because there are a lot of things that I'm doing in the pipeline. So as I have a business, I really have to pump it up with some of the backup rackets that I have, because it's not really that easy to set up a business during the in the midst of the pandemic. You have to check on the resources. I'm not really that kind of a guy who has a lot of things to splurge. So I have to be really strategic as well. So, nevertheless, I am grateful to those who have been with me, helping me out, my family and my friends. But nevertheless, let me just tell you the story because the water refilling station started almost a year ago. Yes, exactly in my birth month. It's quite uneasy because it seems that when you're talking about water refilling station, it seems that it's very practical and essential. But you also have to consider the existing ecosystem that is really apparent, that is also within the community, particularly if you're going to talk about competition, the pricing structure, and the other components of expenses. Untimely or You have to also consider other factors such as the delivery these days. The gasolines or the diesel is not really favorable, particularly for any delivery or transportation or logistics even. But nevertheless, we have to make it more practical because how can it how can it be possible that something that is should have been free is now being offered commercial, and people have to spend more of that, and to know that water is life. However, the potability of clean water is somehow not available as we wanted to. Of course, there are certain series of sanitation purification that is needed, but that doesn't come for free. And as a businessman, you have to really come up with certain, humanitarian consideration in pricing structure, because I know in Manila it's about 40 pesos per container. Sometimes it goes higher. But here in Bulacan, we wanted to make sure, particularly in Giginto, we wanted to make sure that this is going to be acceptable. It's not going to be a burden as well, because the water refilling station, as much as possible, is the distribution. So the distribution should be more available to everybody, and even to the farthest reach of your community. And this is the reason why when I was doing all of my boostings and the ads, it is somehow strategic, but at the same time, when you go to Facebook, they really spread and quite distance, although you want it to be very strategic. But along the way, you have to make sure that the patterns would be more reasonable, and that is why you still have to go on the you know go on the streets, go out, and then try to meet certain more communities or organizations, companies as well, so that you don't really waste more time in particularly gasoline, because that's exactly the point of you coming up with a business. You wanted to offer all of these things. Now, immediately when I was doing the boosting in Facebook, again with zero knowledge of what's happening in the community, because of course it was pandemic, it was lockdown. I did my research, but unfortunately, not every water refilling station has its own Facebook page. So, and not all establishments, particularly in the province, are mapped in Google. So don't rely on that unless they are technically savvy. So that's one of the challenges. So if I mean right now, if you're going to look for the Cultura Hub, definitely it's in Google Map, definitely it's on Facebook and across social media pages, but not for the rest of the community or my competition. And that's a big consideration, because you have, particularly if you have limitation in physical aspects, such as of course it's during the lockdown, the research was kind of scarce. And then eventually I tried coordinating with the business sector or the LGU, but that's the only time when my business is already registered. That's the only time they could ask. Or probably if I could have done it, probably it's possible. But again, it was just a matter of, I mean, what can go wrong, especially if it's going to be water that you're distributing, right? So basics, like everybody needs it. But again, the competition aside, if you're going to look into the aspect of competing with them, and then, but you also have to consider that this has to be sustainable. It doesn't just go with the price war. I myself has been a brand person, so as much as possible, I wanted to come out with a product and services that is more distinguished or distinct in the market. But at the same time, I should be able to relay a very, let's just say, a very important message of what my distinction is. Because after all, I'm not going to price this that it's immediate as expensive, or probably lower than that, because again, uh, knowing the principles of marketing, you always have to know how these things work. Now, henceforth, I'm very grateful as well to the Giginto Water Stations Association, or Giginto Water Station Owners Association Inc. It is also held by the president of Mr. Edwin Lasaas. I mean, I have to respect the businesses was, like I said, we have a lot of competition, about 104 establishments here in Giginto alone. And in Santa Rita, which is my barangay, it already has like 16 water station. So in order to deal with that, you have to make sure that your business is really somehow sustainable. Again, it doesn't uh, provoke any unfair practices. So that's why we wanted to belong to as an association. And like you said, I'm entering a business like without knowledge or zero knowledge. It is not enough that we go through the YouTube or Facebook, because these types of businesses are not as well. It's all over. However, on how you're going to apply or implement your strategies is really more about your how adept you are in your own community. How are you going to be able to distribute and create certain promos without unfair practices? What do I mean by unfair practices? I mean, initially that's about pricing. You don't really like drop your price and then getting the other customers from other clients or other um, water station refill, because it doesn't really make sense. It does not also make it more sustainable in terms of where you're building a community. Everybody's like trying to make a living, so you don't want to take that away from others as well, simply because you're well off or somebody has more advantage. I believe it's not really more of that, but when you enter a business, it's really about you trying to strategize how to complement the existing community. And if you are capable of, at least within the range, provide your services, that I think is more strategic rather than for you to go further and then eventually add more prices, contribute to the fossil fuel or carbon footprint. So that really makes a lot of sense. So the Cultura Hub, I believe, is more strategic because, again, it's a kind of product that everybody needs, and the reach is more sporadic, or what I mean is it's more relatable to everybody. So if upon launching the particular business, it also paved the way for me to come up with other business products and services, and that is why I arrived as well with the Cultura Hub Salon in Malolos, or Cooltura Salon Malolos, because at that time, like you said, it just happened. The real story behind it is that my driver, or my former driver, in the water refueling station happens to be a massage therapist. And he just suddenly told me that, hey, sir, by the way, would you like to probably come up? I can do massage, because I myself is like a spa enthusiast. And during the pandemic, it's like one of the things or leisure that I really miss the most. So I said, okay, you happen to know that, but what's your preparations, or probably your training? And then I was told that he was actually, he got he got even, or became a mentor or trainer for Tesla. So I said, okay, he must be really competent. And then eventually I said, anyway, there's something, I have the means, I have the reach as well. And that's why I launched a freelance home service massage therapy. And then eventually I grew up some of the clients. And then before, oh yeah, it's the opening of the year of 2022, when everything seems to be manageable now and everybody seems to get more vaccinated against the COVID-19, then I decided to put a spa salon in Malolos. It's already capital in the capital in Malolos, not in the Philippines, but in the Malolos. But it was the former city, right? If you still remember the Aguinaldo thing. But nevertheless, okay, going back to the Malolos, and then it happens that the venue is being managed by one of my clients or restaurants who are a client of the Cultura Hub water refilling station. So I said, okay, let's try to initially to set up, as quick as possible. It's not that grand, because at the end of the day, it's like I just wanted to provide a space. I wanted to test it out, and then eventually I launched a barber. I launched a nail salon, and then I had a female therapist. Then I got a male massage therapist, and then suddenly it picked up. I mean, as a businessman, you just really wanted to like to check to test the waters. Then eventually, if it clicks, then that's the time that you okay. Let's invest more. Let's try to come up with something more, like more promos and gigs. When I say more, I mean it's really just me. It's I'm a sole entrepreneur or sole proprietorship that I'm really taking my investments seriously, but at the same time, it's also my passion because it's one of the things that I like, right? So I got my interest. I try to initially hire first. Those are veterans in the field of massage therapy. However, the challenges arise because some of them who are really like veterans or let's say experts already are capable of doing a freelance service, and then they have their own agenda that doesn't really somehow fit to a corporate setup or let's just say more of a business setup because they tend to compete with mine. So just to put the story short, I have to to be fair, and eventually I have to hire a new set of therapists, and then I have figured out what my niche is, and I found out that there's only few, if not zero, a legitimate male masseur in Bulacan. And I mean, I'm a big fan of blue ocean strategy. So eventually, what I did is like, okay, if it's going to be like all male therapists, then so be it. And then I have to embrace as well my network because, as you all know, that I am an advocate as well of the LGBT community, and I believe that some of my campaigns and executions and probably my network is I said it's the most opportune time for me to offer my services and products within the community because I have to make sure that I encourage and implement safe spaces and fair practices. So what I did quickly is to get a tested trainer all the way from Tarlac. Then I have a different story for that because I tried getting a lot of trainers in Bulacan. However, like I said, like I told you, within 2 years, I have some limitations. And all what I've been doing is really to go online and screen those people who are online and was able to do something to provide me good let's just say profile. So that also convinced me why I should be hiring this person to train my staff. And eventually that happened. I got this all male therapist. They're all young. They're all like it's their first time to really be in the industry of massage or health and wellness. But nevertheless, it's like I'm going to give you the training as long as you're in a good or in the right attitude. Then let's just enjoy the fruits later on, because that's exactly the point. We're investing. I hope everybody's like you are passionate because in the massage therapy it's the equivalent or let's just say the income is actually more than what I've been earning in the water filling station. If you're going to consider that okay, massage is really more of a luxury, but coming from the hotel industry, I myself is in tourism. It's not really essential, but it has been flourishing for all these years, and that's probably one of my advantages as well, since I'm handling now my own spa. And in a span of 2 months, I'm already transferring to a new location, which is located in Hias Building. It still is in the same street, which is in the Mabini Street in Barangay Ginhawa. However, I'm now located no longer in a food park because that was my first initial tryout, and I'm grateful because I was able to discover more friends. I was able to know as well what's really working in that area. It's really tough, it's in a short period of time. I just really have, and again with all the limitations that I have to make sure that everything would work and within the budget. And if I have to sacrifice my own luxury, I have to do so because at the end of the day, it's like it's business. And, it's kind of different these days. I think it's more maturity because before all I've been thinking is about acquiring paraphernalia, cell phone, gadgets. But now it's different because it means that I'm providing more jobs and opportunities to a lot of people, whether they are young, old. I wanted to really be more inclusive. To be honest, is that I have also my pressure particularly from my clients because some of them that I encounter, and although I find it somehow insensitive, that they require more physical appearance rather than skills. I don't know, probably the reasons behind, but like I've mentioned, I am somehow trained to do, which is to understand the human behavior because I've been doing the counseling. So I am trying to, well, first and foremost, I've been doing the soldier of my own stuff and trying to tell them that if you feel that you are in a certain situation that is uncomfortable, you just really have, I mean, since we're in a service industry, you have to be quick in dismissing or probably rejecting any indecent offers. But at the same time, you maintain your composure because probably let's understand the client where he or she is coming from. I really pity those people. I pity those people because they're trying to justify the trade of business as an extent for them or an avenue for them to to somehow be appreciated. Um, I'm not saying this as a more of a generic understanding or as a form of generalization, but for those instances wherein they're taking advantage of my staff, I am making sure that my staff are in a proper behavior. And if ever that they wanted to dismiss the offer or indecent offer, I have to really make it sure that as much as possible they don't engage in any form of violence or profanity. They still have to treat the person with respect. The best thing to do in order to avoid, if the client is really insisting, is to just really go and then eventually let the management, and then particularly the person in charge, do certain actions towards the customer. Because understanding so far, my clients, they are somehow, I wanted to believe that they have realized that this particular business or establishment is really decent. We are legitimate and we don't really condone or we don't really tolerate such action, because you don't have to take somebody's misfortune or let's just say financial disadvantage just for you to provide something that is beyond their will. I hope you get what I mean. It's simply as these people are working very hard. They wanted to provide for their families, and getting the work is that it's because they do understand that massage is really going to be a healing process for those people who are in pain, or probably people who just wanted to have this, the element of the magic of touch. So I just really wanted to assure that people who goes to my business is it's legitimate. um, I make probably my commercial very appealing to the community, because I know my crowd. I myself is belonging to that, so I know which one would appeal most. But it doesn't mean that it has to be misleading. It is visually appealing because again it's the power of attention. But in terms of my communication, it is very straight to the point that we are there because we wanted to provide a good massage. Simply put, that it is a business that is decent. So nevertheless, we're not going to go beyond that, even though it would mean that they have to offer. I hope that these people would realize their self-worth and avoid getting humiliated, because I some of my staff already mentioned to me that there were clients who offered big sum of money and they got rejected. And I just wanted to probably empathize that it wouldn't be comfortable for them to do so, that eventually going back to the same venue and then getting rejected is really probably would hurt their ego. And I just really hope that they would realize that if ever that they wanted such activity, they could do it elsewhere, but not in the premises or particularly in my business, because First and foremost, we are a legitimate business, and that is exactly where you come in. Um, I don't. At first, I wanted to respect everybody, where they're coming from. Probably they have their own stories to share, but I hope that they will realize that my employees, my business is really a safe space. That is why, as much as possible, I want them to be treated with respect. And I hope that attending certain events that I'll be promoting soon is that they will be more confident of who they are. It doesn't mean that they have to engage or pay just for them to feel good, because it has to come from within. The spa and the beauty or the salon, it is there to provide good feelings. Um, it's also a matter of for them to develop their their sense of community, the sense of community wherein people would be more responsible for their actions and trying to be involved in certain activities that could promote a better community or sense of sense of friendship, camaraderie. And if we going to invest more in our cities to our own people, then that would create a better harmony, financial stability, or the economic activities within the area within our reach. Because if we're investing within our area, that would mean that those people, those families that we're helping, are simply within our within short distance, and that would mean helping a lot of people. I mean, we're probably are some of us are philanthropists or generous when it times of calamities in distant places. And I hope they would also consider helping those people within their area. So I just really hope that these people would now be able to understand how to feel good for themselves by doing good to others as well. So I guess this is one of the opportunities that I'm doing right now, something that I've been learning as an entrepreneur. During the pandemic, it takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of resources, it takes a lot of guts to ask for help. So appreciate those people who are trying to make a living, who are trying to do something. And if you know anyone, like I saw a post on social media, is that whenever you celebrate a victory of your friends, so please support them. And when it comes to business, please support them further, because it it generates more opportunities, not just for myself, not just for my family, but also to the families of my employees. And I'm so happy that probably I have about around of 10 employees. It may not be that much, but for a business that is like running within small business and is running within less than a year, I am very much grateful. I'm very much grateful to all the support, to all the prayers as well. It may not be perfect, but it's a matter of guts for you to continually believe and run the businesses. So if you're in Bulacan, particularly in Giginto and Malolos, please look and support the Cultura Hub water refilling station, because we undergo a lot of permits, a lot of testing for the water purification and sanitation to ensure that the potability and the cleanliness of our water. And the Cooltura Salon in Malolos, which will soon be available in Cooltura Salon, Clark City, in Commercio Central at Mangantamo. So I hope you guys, that I'll be seeing you soon. And if ever that you watch this video or you're watching this video, please feel drop by any comments or in my Facebook page, even it's in my own personal blog, Job Solas, or in Cultura Hub and Cultura Salon Malolos. Please do so. I appreciate that. And let's continue serving and continue to help more people within our communities. So again, thanks, Smarter. I'm not going to do it further, but again, thank you so much. Bye bye.